Hello and welcome to the podcast that can't wait to see Brian Brobby slice in a volley. It's the big man up top.
It certainly is. How are you doing, Joe?
Very well, Ed. How are you?
Oh, I'm very good, very good. I've got World Cup fever, Joe.
You do, very much so. We all do. We're going to talk about the World Cup today.
We certainly are. What on earth is going on around us?
I mean, at this point, let's just bring him in straight away, Eric. Tom.
Hello.
What have you done?
I brought the World Cup to the big man up top.
Yeah, if you can't see this, get over to our YouTube channel at Big Man Up Top Pod. Tom has decorated the studio
with World Cup flags.
Are they?
Yes, of course.
So what has happened here is Tom had a great idea to decorate the studio with a World Cup vibe. Let's get some flags up, he said.
World Cup fever.
Sounds good. And he's quite clearly gone on Amazon and got a load of flags in bunting.
Was this Amazon's choice?
It might have been Amazon's choice.
And I'd say 2/3 of these countries are not going to the World Cup.
As I look at you, Ed, I see an India flag draped on the shoulders of Wout Weghorst.
That sounds about right.
I mean, what's happened to this podcast?
Right next to the flag for the European Union.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got all the great nations here. You've got Liechtenstein, maybe? They're probably in it.
That's Uganda over there.
Yeah, what I like down here is I've just found the Great Britain flag.
Yeah.
No mention of England anywhere, Tom.
Well, it's because there's going to be multiple nations representing.
But then I guess you've got...
There's Scotland.
Scotland
on
there.
Drogba.
Yeah.
Drogba loves Scotland.
Listen, Tom, you've really outdone yourself.
Thank you.
Fantastic work.
Brilliant.
Well done. You have really brought the World Cup vibes to the Big Man Up Top studio.
I love the World Cup. I've got massive fever.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. The countries that are on here, they're going to join. Great Britain, they're going to be in. Watch the draw on this Friday. Watch the draw. Great Britain, it'll come out there.
It'll be
versus England.
That'd be quite the shock.
Oh dear. Now we've also got some quite exciting news, haven't we, Joe?
Yes, we are. We're going on a trip next week.
We are. Where are we going, Joe?
Wembley.
Wembley.
We're off to Wembley.
We certainly are. This is the exciting news that, incredibly, we, as in the Big Man Up Top, have been invited to Wembley. That's right, the home of football, for an event which the FA are putting on called a Celebration of Christianity and Football. And very kindly, because it's a Monday, they've let us. They're letting us record a podcast there, Joe.
Why? Because it's a Monday. Just because nothing else is going on.
Well,
there.
it's just that that's the day we record, and we're going down. And,
fine. I thought you said any other day we wouldn't be allowed in the box.
No, that was the first thought that came to mind. Was we're going to be travelling to London.
London.
How on earth are we going to record the podcast? And that's when it occurred to me. We can record it at Wembley.
Do you think we'll be able to see the pitch? Have the pitch behind us?
Well, we shall see. I've got high hopes, Joe.
Yeah, in conversations.
In conversations, that's right. So make sure you tune in next week to our episode from Wembley. Do give it a good look on YouTube as well at Big Man Up Top Pod, and you never know, you might see a star on the pitch. No, you won't see anybody on the pitch. But
I mean, a Wembley appearance in the second season. I mean, not many clubs do that.
No, this feels significant.
It does, doesn't it?
It feels like our Champions League final.
Maybe it is.
Right, Joe. I think we should start with the quiz. What do you think? How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I mean, you've already given me a pre-warning that this is a hard one. So
I think this is a hard one.
I've had my morning coffee.
Yeah,
and I'm ready to give this a go.
And there's a bit of a World Cup theme to this one as well.
Is it how many of these flags are actually at the World Cup?
No, it is not. Joe, what was your first World Cup that you remember seeing?
The one I really remember was 2006.
Okay.
And it was that first game between Germany and Costa Rica. I think it was 4-2. And Torsten Frings scored an absolute worldie.
Wow.
And my dad just sat back and he said, well, Frings can only get better for Costa Rica.
Yes, good
That's
stuff.
my first World Cup memory. What a moment that was.
Well, that's superb. Well, sadly, because I tried to go for a World Cup that I thought you'd remember.
Is it 2002?
I've gone for 2002.
Yeah, no chance.
Oh,
no
dear.
chance.
Never mind. Well, I'm going to give you the question anyway. We'll see if you get it. Listeners, do let us know if you get the answer to this one as well. So your question is, Which Bible baller scored the Republic of Ireland's first goal at the 2002 World Cup in Japan and Korea? He also missed a penalty in the round of 32 knockout game to Spain, which knocked Ireland out. And he was an ever-present in midfield, picking up 49 caps for the boys in green. I'll read that out again for you. Which Bible baller scored the Republic of Ireland's first goal at the 2002 World Cup in Japan and Korea, missed a penalty in the round of 32 knockout game to Spain, and was an ever-present in midfield, picking up 49 caps for the boys in green? Any initial thoughts?
No, absolutely no idea.
No, great. Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Absolutely no idea.
have a bit more of a think. Just
All right.
just think, classic early 2000s Republic of Ireland central midfielder.
Yeah, when I was 5 years old.
Yeah,
Fine.
that's that's what you want. I'll maybe give you a clue later on
Okay.
as well.
Tom, were you alive in 2002?
No,
Okay then.
no, I wasn't.
So
I
you
was
can't-
I was 2 years off, so I was. Am I technically dead before I'm alive?
Oh,
is
that's
is this, I don't know. I was,
That's a big question.
Anyway, yeah, no, I wouldn't have remembered. Unfortunately,
No. Well, anyway, have a think. You might come up with something.
Sure.
Now, Joe, I was away this weekend. I went on a lovely holiday with the missus.
I heard you went up a fell.
I climbed a fell.
Wow.
I know, very unlike me, but I did. And so as a result, I spent all my time up fells, and I missed quite a lot of the football this weekend.
Quite a lot happened, Ed. Quite an entertaining weekend.
Well, so I believe. I do think we need to start with just our general conflicting moods for the weekend, because obviously I'm
Yeah.
away, and you do that thing sometimes where you're like, oh well, I should be present. I'm here on a lovely weekend getaway with my spouse. I will just nip to the loo and see how Stoke have done in the early kickoff on Saturday.
Yeah, sure.
And sadly lost 2-1 with a last minute winner.
As a title pushover.
Goodness knows. Who knows, Joe? Who knows? It's been a bit of a roller coaster. But
Yeah.
I then said to you, maybe we don't need to talk about football this week. Maybe we can talk about cricket instead.
Yeah.
And your response was, well, let's see
I said
until...
I'll let you know at 4 p.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, and
If
so
we should.
so what's your general vibe after 4 p.m. on
I think we
Sunday?
should definitely talk about football. We are back. Liverpool are back. We're winning the league.
Liverpool beating West Ham away 2-0. Tell us about this one, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I think to start, caveat this with West Ham were no good. They were really disappointing in this game. And actually, you go into this game and you fancy West Ham to do something, I think, because they've had 3 unbeaten games. Nuno, it feels like he'd started to get this West Ham team playing. They'd been looking a bit more solid. So I didn't fancy this going into it. I thought this was going to be another drab performance from Liverpool, but
Would we say it wasn't a drab performance? I didn't think it was vintage Liverpool.
Well,
It
no,
wasn't.
correct.
It was just improved.
it
wasn't
wasn't vintage Liverpool at all. But they got the job done, and it wasn't vintage, but it was balanced. It was a really balanced performance. It was a bit more solid. Slot made some big calls. He didn't play Salah at all. Didn't even bring him off the bench, which is really big call. And I think he's able to play it off a little bit, as he did in his post-match, as resting him because there's another game coming tomorrow night, and then there's a game at the weekend as well, and games are coming thick and fast, so you can pass this off as rotation, but he's a club legend. Dropping Mo Salah is always going to be a talking point.
What I would say is that I did quite like Arne Slot's response in this when he was asked about it. And he says, well, I was asked about not playing Isak, and I was asked about not playing Ekitike. And you can sort of understand and go, well, I've got more than 11 players. Some players are going to have to miss out. And he shouldn't expect to play every game. And Liverpool fans shouldn't expect him to play every game either.
No, absolutely not. And he's getting older, isn't he? He's 33 now, and he's not going to play every game. He's not going to deliver. I don't think this at all is Mo Salah is done. I think he's still got so much to contribute this season, and a big part of why Liverpool looked so much better is because they had Szoboszlai on the right wing, and he did some defensive work. And Joe Gomez at right back, this was his first start in a long time. Again, really good defender, and I think I was really encouraged actually by this performance, saying that West Ham didn't provide much of a threat. But I actually came away from this performance more encouraged than I did from that week where they beat Villa and Real Madrid, which feels strange, but this feels like a more progressive performance than that week, which felt a bit like reverting to type from last season.
Important for Isak to get his first goal. He took it quite well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Really nice finish, actually. And he had quite a few chances in this game where it felt like he was trying really hard. But in this, for his goal, it actually came from a long throw, Ed.
I know.
It was a second phase of a long throw. Who knew Joe Gomez could do a long throw?
Listen, everyone's got it in their armoury somewhere.
Someone's got it.
You just have to unleash your inner Delap.
We all do. Yeah, just a really, really good play from Isak. He'd had a few chances, he'd made a few runs, and the finish wasn't quite there. Here he decided to drop back a little bit, almost like stand still, because he knew where the ball was coming, and that's actually a really nice finish. I think it's quite an underrated finish. Going to do in the world of good.
He sort of looked quite surprised when it went in.
Yeah, I think he did. Like, scored.
Yeah. We do need to talk about Paquetá in this game. What on earth went on here?
I mean, I think it's hard not to use strong words here, I think, but I think it was fairly, I don't want to use the word idiotic. I don't really know what he's doing.
No, for anybody who missed it, there was an incident where another West Ham player was involved in a challenge where the West Ham players felt like he'd won the ball. The referee blew up for a foul. Paquetá wasn't even involved in this at this point, but he was sort of nearby, and the ref had blown up. Paquetá starts to then give the ref some verbals. The ref doesn't like it, comes over and books him. And then what follows is just the most bizarre 60 seconds you've ever seen, where for some reason Paquetá then just gets more and more angry, remonstrating to the referee, giving him very much a mouthful or two. The referee very calmly saying, you need to watch your mouth here, otherwise you're going to get a second yellow.
I think he actually gave him quite a long time,
He
didn't
did.
he? Like,
did.
It wasn't immediate, and I think the whole thing here was that it was persistent over 30 seconds, I think is the rule of, like, if you get a second book, like, he just doesn't stop. And like you say, the ref was calm, patient, but he had no choice in the end.
Sadly, no West Ham players came to his rescue. I think that's the most frustrating thing, I think, if you're Nuno, is Jared Bowen sort of stood there, not grabbing his player and moving him away and saying, look, you're talking yourself into a red card here.
Not one of them. I think that's, if you're a West Ham fan watching Jared Bowen just stood there, you're like, oh, come on. I mean, who actually calms him down?
Well, interestingly, the only player to come over and actually put a hand on him and say, come on, mate, let's calm this down, is Liverpool goalkeeper Alisson, which is an amazing situation if you think about it, because actually, as a player on the pitch, Liverpool players are just going to be sort of surely backing off and go, well, he's going to talk himself off the pitch here.
Let himself get
himself sent off. And actually, Alisson, who we know is a Christian, we know there are other Christians on the pitch as well, but I thought it was actually a really lovely gesture for him to be the one that comes in the middle and tries to be the peacemaker in this situation.
And that's not going to get spoken about, right? This story is going to be about Paquetá and what he has done, but Alisson in that moment puts aside the differences, the rivalries. Yes, they are international teammates, so there will be a relationship there, but like you said, Liverpool players have every right, and there's nothing on them to calm him down. They just back off, but Alisson is like, no, I'm actually going to run half the pitch to help out this guy who clearly is getting himself into a bit of bother, and it didn't work, but I was really pleased to see that.
It felt like a lovely moment of, either compassion towards him, he didn't want him to be the centre of attention for the wrong reason, or just in the spirit of a fair game. Again, it kind of ruined any chance that West Ham had in this match.
It did. And what do you make of the statement he made afterwards? So he comes out on social media afterwards and he talks about, I'm not perfect, and he says, I don't feel like the authorities have looked after me over the last 2 years. He's had this ongoing situation where there's been a kind of ban looming over him around betting and gambling, that kind of situation. And after this, he comes out and he says he doesn't feel like he's been looked after here. I mean, that's something to think about. Right?
Absolutely. And you know what? I think that is it's a very valid point. We don't know what's gone on behind the scenes for him to warrant feeling that way. It could be a very valid point. And we need to make sure that we're looking after players' well-being. And you know, look, he's right. Like, going through some kind of accusation of match fixing or whatever it was is going to take a huge toll on you. And so he has every right to feel frustrated if he feels like he's not had the right support. It's just that obviously that is not the place to do it. And he's kind of admitted, you know, in that statement, you know, look, I've been frustrated and my frustrations have got the better of me in this moment, and you know, maybe that wasn't great, but so yeah, I do have some sympathies for him.
Yeah,
but it's not a particularly great thing, not just for him but for his teammates as well. But great 3 points for Liverpool.
Yeah, huge. A springboard, and we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. In the other big game of the weekend, Arsenal and Chelsea playing out a 1-1 draw here. This was really interesting because at the point that Chelsea found themselves going down to 10 men at 0-0, I'm fully expecting Arsenal to go on and win this one, and yet it was Chelsea that took the lead through Trevor Chalobah in this one.
Yeah, it was, and I almost wonder... I mean, Chelsea are so used to going down to 10 men now.
They love it. This
is their 6th player sending off this season. Enzo Maresca also has been sent off. So there's a discipline problem there. Helps with rotation, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
And Caicedo is going to be a big miss for the next 3 games. But I almost think, and we saw this with Everton and United on Monday, a very similar situation where there's quite an early sending off. When you go down to 10 men and you're not chasing a game, you know exactly what you need to do, right? Like, your game plan goes out the window. There's no feeling that you have to take charge of this game. You can sit back and grab a goal on the break. And this is what happened. They got a set piece, they got the goal, and they played really well.
A lovely goal from Chalobah. It's the classic Stoke City goal, I think, from the Tony Pulis area, off the back of a defender's head from a corner.
And Arteta's going to be looking at that goal, going, "Oh, I want a bit of that.
I want a bit of
that set piece action."
But then Marino gets a goal later on, and you're sort of thinking, okay, Arsenal might nick this, but. I think Arsenal will feel very much like it was 2 points dropped, won't they?
I think so, yeah. And look, Chelsea are good. They've had a good few weeks and they're looking really strong. But yeah, you think after a sending off, you want to be taking charge of that. And look, maybe we're going to look back and it's a really good point. And coming away from that environment, it was quite a hostile game. Coming away from that with a point is probably a good result, especially considering the context of this week. Big win in the derby, big win against Bayern Munich, point away at Chelsea. It's not a bad result, but I think they will, in the context of the game, feel like they could have got more.
Now, both Manchester teams are winning this weekend. United picking up a very valuable win, but also Man City, I'd say, sort of hobbling over the line against Leeds, winning 3-2. What did you make of this game?
Yeah, I mean, you see City go 1-0 up in the first minute, and a classic City result would be it's over. Yeah. Like, they get another goal quite quickly, 2-0 up, and City of old under Guardiola, you're not checking that result again, really, are you? You're going to look back at full time and see that it's 5-1 and there's been a consolation goal. But Leeds claw it back, and Farke made a couple of changes at half time. Dominic Calvert-Lewin looked like an absolute world beater in that second half.
Absolutely, and you know, when I saw this game. Absolutely. And when I saw this result, I was thinking, oh, that's more pressure on Daniel Farke. But actually, as the way the game panned out, I think they can feel really unlucky not to have come away with a point. And, you know, it would have been a really well-earned point, wouldn't it? But still Daniel Farke, he's not the most popular guy. And
it's not. It's starting to remind me a little bit of, do you remember Luton under Rob Edwards, where they had pockets of really good play, people liked them and it was encouraging, but they still lose. And you need results at this point, particularly at this point of the season. You need to be getting results, and you can't just play well. And he's got some things to sort out.
And a huge goal for Phil Foden at the end. It's one of those, he's really sort of getting back to his best now, isn't he? And actually, that's one of the things that has been lovely, especially in a World Cup year, is seeing a bright England talent actually starting to put his foot on the gas again.
Yeah, it's encouraging. And it's actually a really good goal. I think not many people would know how to score that goal. Like, quite a mazy run around a few defenders, and to hit it low and to get it all the way through those players is really impressive. I think a really underrated moment of this goal is actually Gvardiol jumping. Like, he jumps over the ball just as Foden strikes it, and just to know that Foden is going to hit this low, I need to get out of the way in that split second, I think is really good. And Gvardiol didn't have the greatest game defensively, but yeah, a great moment for City. They don't have too many last minute winners at home. So to see that was quite a moment for them, and will encourage them going forward. But yeah, you're right. Seeing Foden play well, getting 2 goals here, it's looking good, Ed.
It's looking good, and that's it. It's more and more fuel to the not starting Jude Bellingham fire, isn't it?
Come on, Great Britain. So as we said earlier, Ed, we are going to talk about the World Cup.
World Cup
today.
fever!
World Cup fever, but we're not going to talk about the football. Sadly, we are going to talk a little bit about the off-field situation around the World Cup next year, aren't we?
Yes, so we're not talking about groups. We're not talking about who's going to go through to the round of 64.
Yeah. We're not
many. We're going to talk about that this week, though, aren't we?
We are. We're going to find out who England are going to draw 1-1 with in their final group game.
Yeah, exactly. Later this week, do keep an eye out on your feed for a special World Cup episode that we're going to do. But yes, as Joe says, today we want to touch about just, look, this idea that we're having a World Cup in the US, Mexico and Canada. What does that mean? What are the pros? What are the cons? Because I think it's fair to say, Joe, we've been critical, haven't we, about the World Cup going to certain countries in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. We were critical of the World Cup going to Qatar in 2022. We've been critical of it being awarded to Saudi Arabia in 2034, and I think quite rightly. I think there's a lot of issues there, but it's also important that we take a look at. I think it's important we take a look at every World Cup, I guess, and every host nation is going to have its issues, it's going to have its pros, going to have its cons. I think something I'm really careful about before we do this is that when we were talking about Saudi Arabia, Qatar, it can be quite easy in that moment to be like, oh, but what about this situation? What about this situation?
Yeah.
That's not what this is. I think by criticising the World Cup in America, we are not in any way counterbalancing that to the Qatar World Cup, to the Saudi Arabia World Cup. It's okay to look at all of these situations individually and not compare the two, I think. I think that's important to say before we start running through the pros and cons of this World Cup.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, one of the big differences in comparison with the World Cups that have taken place in the Middle East, or the one World Cup that's taken place in the Middle East, is the stadium infrastructure. Now, there was a lot of criticism about the Qatar World Cup because essentially every stadium was built from scratch, wasn't it? And there was an environmental impact that had, but also there was just an unspeakably tragic situation of thousands of deaths of migrant workers that were building these stadiums. Now, in the US, Mexico and Canada, they have a much more established culture of sport, particularly the NFL in America. They have so many world-class stadiums that actually that's not really a concern here. They shouldn't need to be building any new stadiums. Yes, there might be some development or making one or two bigger possibly, but actually in the grand scheme of things, there is a stadium infrastructure in North America.
Yeah, and I think that is what we want to see. We want to see World Cups being hosted in countries that have a footballing heritage. Look, United States haven't had the most the the most glorious past in football, in terms of on the pitch. But you're right, the structures in place, the travel infrastructure as well, because that was an issue around Qatar, is that you're traveling a lot in between like stadiums that have just been built. That wasn't really thought about. But here, yeah, you're going into a country where they know how to put on events. We had one in the summer. The Club World Cup was there, and that was almost seen as this kind of trial run. The stadiums are great, and yeah, that's definitely a positive.
And interestingly, talking about stadiums, there was all this talk during the Brazil World Cup about white elephant stadiums, as they've been referred to. These stadiums, they get built for a World Cup, host 2 or 3 group games, and then are just never used again. You know, there was a stadium built in Brazil, in Manaus, which was so isolated that they had to ship the parts for this stadium down the Amazon River because it's quite difficult to get to by road. And there was also a stadium built in Brazil where now its primary use since the World Cup in 2014 has been as a bus depot. The car park has been used as a bus depot, and that's basically it. That's what we're trying to avoid when we talk about these stadiums that are just, there's no kind of longevity here. And look at the great example from previous events in this country where we took the stadium that was used in the Commonwealth Games and that became Manchester City Stadium. Equally, the Olympic Stadium in London that's now that's now lived in by West Ham.
I played badminton in the swimming pool used in the 2022 Commonwealth Games.
Well, there you go.
Repurposed into a badminton court.
And that's part of FIFA's responsibility, isn't it? Is to make sure that it's not just this event. And when the cameras go away, that's it. These things are not being used. It's really important that these are stadiums that are built for the long-term benefit of that country.
With a lasting legacy, isn't it?
100%. And I think you touched on this before when you were talking about America and maybe not having the best legacy on the field. But actually, football is a hugely growing game in America, isn't it? With the MLS and the rise of big players that are going over to play there.
It is. It's getting bigger and bigger. This kind of started, I think, when David Beckham moved to LA Galaxy. That was a huge move for the American game, and it's grown bigger and bigger since then. Obviously, the biggest star there right now is Lionel Messi, and he is staying for a couple more years. And yeah, I think it's a really good time for the American game to host this. It's important to say it's being hosted in Mexico as well and Canada, but the bulk of this tournament is going to be in America, just to caveat that with this conversation. But yeah, the game is growing there. I think it's a really exciting time for American football, American soccer, I guess we should call it, because American football is a different sport. They've got Mauricio Pochettino in, who is a huge appointment for that team. And I think there's a lot of excitement around the game. We've got a few American players playing in the Premier League as well. Tyler Adams, Brendan Aronson, who are all going to be part of this squad probably. I think it's an exciting time.
Absolutely. And I am fully invested in the MLS, Joe. Do you have an MLS team, or do you not care that much?
I don't really know.
I have an MLS team.
Who's your MLS team?
Do you want to know my team?
Is it Phil Neville's team?
It's not. My team is the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Oh, who plays for them?
I have absolutely no idea.
So they're not your team.
No, but it's, you know, when you sort of have a team where you kind of they've won again. A very good, very average MLS team. But I went on holiday to Canada about 10 years ago, and the stadium is right in downtown, and we were staying right next to it, and so I fancied going to a game. So I watched the final of the Canada Cup.
Wow.
Which was them versus Toronto FC, and I think it's basically just like the Calcutta Cup. It's just it's just between them two.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was a really great experience, and crucially a good fan experience as well.
Yeah. Before we get onto that, I think there's also an opportunity for us here as well. I think it's fair to say we maybe look at the American game with a bit of, you don't do soccer, you do your egg ball throwing game.
Yeah.
Right? And you look at the MLS, it's not the most competitive league because no one gets relegated, anything like that. This is a huge opportunity for us to get invested in the American game and show some support there, and it's a chance on the world stage to showcase some great American players.
It's interesting you say that about us getting interested in the American soccer system is actually just in the last couple of weeks there's been a really interesting appointment in that Tony Scholes, who just as a quick aside was the former chief exec at Stoke City.
Stoke City, of course. It's Stoke City.
He left Stoke City to become a Premier League exec a few years back. He's actually the new president of the United Soccer League's Division 1. So essentially, how I've sort of tried to wrap my head around this, and I might be wrong, and apologies if any avid American soccer listeners are listening and shouting at their podcast, but he's basically now kind of like the head of the Football League.
Okay.
So the MLS is above the United Soccer League, which is the leagues below it, and he's now the new head of the United Soccer League. Now, what's interesting is that Tony Scholes has come in and said that one of the first things he wants to do is bring in promotion and relegation.
Interesting.
He's trying to take the English model over there into America. So I think that's quite a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if that's something that can catch on over there, it's not going to be welcome news from the businessman, but it certainly is.
Phil Neville.
Or Phil Neville. But for the football fans, I think that will be massive, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely huge. I think anything that can make that league more competitive and stand out and compete with big European leagues is only a good thing.
Now, as I mentioned before, when I went to Canada on holiday about 10 years ago, and I went to go and see the Vancouver Whitecaps, the thing that struck me is how good the fan experience was.
Okay.
Like, the tickets were cheap. First of all, and yet for the price of the ticket, I had such a brilliant experience. The stadium was stunning. The concourse, the facilities were unbelievable. Like they were serving chicken katsu curry well before they started doing it. Well before footy scran over here. It wasn't just your dodgy burger and chips and all that. The seats were comfortable. It was just everything was really, really slickly ran, and I think that's something that the Americans do better than we do. I think there's elements of the atmosphere in the games. We can have that discussion, but in terms of just facilities, it's something that they do really well in North America.
And I think that might be. I wonder if there's a slightly different mindset that they kind of see sport as entertainment. I think they very much do. I think you look at American football, a lot of the sport almost takes place around entertainment, halftime shows. That feeds into the fan experience. I think in England we can be very proud of our heritage of, it's cold, you wrap up warm, you get a sausage roll on a Bovril at halftime, and it's not the most comfortable experience, right? And look, we love that. I love that personally, but you're right, the fan experience in America is great. They know how to put on a show. This is an entertainment for them, and they're going to put something really nice on.
That said, they do not know how to chant.
No.
And we're expecting all of the incredible clips on TikTok and whatnot of some American fan trying to start a chant. Are we going to see a bit of that, do we think?
I think so. I think my mind's immediately gone to, was it the Ryder Cup this year? I know that wasn't Americans, but what was that chant? Are you watching Donald Trump? That was quite difficult. I wonder if we're going to get quite a bit of that. More on him later, I guess.
More on him later. I think it's really important, though, that because a lot of football fans are just going to go into any World Cup being sort of blindly optimistic and happy about it because it's the World Cup, and it's great, and it doesn't matter where it is, it doesn't matter what time the games are, but there are definitely some cons about this World Cup in North America that we do need to touch on, don't we?
Yeah, I think first, one of the big things for me here is the environmental impact of this World Cup. This is hosted in America, Mexico, and Canada. I think the first couple of games were in Mexico. Is that right?
That's right. And let's be clear here. This is a continent. This is not a country hosting a World Cup. This is a continent, and a massive continent at that. Which is remarkable. There are thousands of miles between host cities.
Yeah. So firstly, there's an environmental impact there. There's going to be over 6 million people they're expecting attending this World Cup. Teams are having to travel between 3 countries for their games. Fans are going to have to travel between 3 countries for games. There's a huge environmental impact there. No doubt there'll be a lot of flying going on, and I think that's something that maybe hasn't been thought about too much there.
And also like a personal cost as well. Like if you're going over there for a couple of weeks and you want to go and see more than one host city, yeah, you have got to fly there. You can't just, get on a cheap shuttle bus or a train or something. It's going to cost fans that go an awful lot of money. And in an age where cost of living is going up, is that something we need to be adding on diehard football fans? I'm not sure.
No, I agree. And also player welfare comes into this as well, right? Like if you're playing a game in Mexico, your next one is then in America, you're flying, and in the World Cup, there's not much room in between games. I think there's a player welfare thing here, and I think the quality of football might suffer as well. I know that's not really a moral issue, but I think it will impact how players perform. And
it'll be interesting to see as well, because with it being such a big continent, there are weather extremes all over the place. It can obviously get quite cold when you get into Canada, although not at that time of the year. But the heat in Mexico at that time will be unbelievable, and they're going to have to make sure that they're looking after the players with water breaks and all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, because I remember watching the Club World Cup. I think it was PSG against Atletico Madrid. This was in the height of the afternoon, summer in America. It just looked I felt hot watching it through the TV. It looked so hot. So there definitely is going to be a thing there of looking after players in that heat.
I think we do need to touch on Donald Trump, which we mentioned earlier. Now we are apolitical on this podcast.
Yeah, we're not a political podcast at all.
Not at all. What I would say though is that there have been quite serious questions asked about the Trump administration. Trump has been very aggressive in his America First policy, and there is a genuine question about how welcoming this current government can be to fans coming to visit, to teams coming to visit. And look, I think it's safe to say if you're British and you're white and you're going out to America to watch the World Cup, I don't think you've got any concerns whatsoever. No, I think you'll feel very welcome. If you are a football fan coming from an African country or from a Muslim majority country, are you going to get that same treatment at the border? I'm not entirely convinced. So there are questions there to be asked, and it's only right that we mention them here.
I think absolutely, because I think when we spoke about the Qatar World Cup, Saudi Arabia World Cup, it's quite obvious that our main point there was human rights issues, and I think they were probably a lot more sinister there because there was, there's talk of journalists being killed, that kind of thing. Here, that is less obvious, but these are still human rights issues, aren't they? And it is that whole thing of how is this group of people going to be treated going to this World Cup? This World Cup needs to be a celebration of football, celebration of race, culture, of us all coming together united, more so than ever, because there are 48 teams in this World Cup. There are teams there that have never been there before, Cape Verde, Curacao. They are coming together to this World Cup. This needs to be a joyful celebration of countries coming together to celebrate the sport that we all love. And there are concerns about being welcome if you are not an American or a white European or British or whatever. If you're not as welcome as maybe we would be, then that's going to be a concern and you're not going to have a good time.
I think one of the sort of conversations has been about this burgeoning friendship between Donald Trump and Gianni Infantino.
Yeah.
They seemed like busy mates during the Club World Cup, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, they were both on stage for the trophy presentation and they stayed there. I think that was something. And it's starting to verge a bit towards what is this World Cup about? Is this World Cup about football or win it, or is it about Donald Trump and Infantino's new friendship? There's a FIFA office now in Trump Towers.
Really?
In America. Infantino is finding himself at big political meetings with world leaders. But I don't think you'd find football figures that ingrained in political action in the past. And I think we're heading towards that, and it's starting to become more than football. I think it's getting a lot more political.
One of the things that I feel like we have to touch on. Now, I would say this isn't the US and Mexico and Canada's fault, but is that ongoing issue about FIFA, isn't there? And the allegations of corruption. There's been a news story this week, Joe, I don't know if you've seen it, in that Cristiano Ronaldo has found his 2-match ban that he was due to serve at the start of the World Cup. He's had that suspended. He had a 3-match ban. He served one of the games. He had two matches left. And he's just found that conveniently, he's been told he can serve that after the World Cup. And interestingly, there are players who are also taking other bans to the World Cup, and they've been told they have got to serve them at the World Cup. So Ronaldo is being very he's being treated specially, isn't he, here?
Yeah, and I think that the hardest thing about this is that it is absolutely not a surprise. I think we all saw Ronaldo get banned and thought, oh, he's going to miss a couple of games of the World Cup. But we also thought they'll find a way around it. I think the worrying thing for me is how blatant this is, because they could quite easily have probably got away with, you know what, reduce it. Like, you've served one game. Maybe what he did wasn't as bad as we thought. It's a 2-game suspension. He misses the first game and we move on. I don't think that becomes as much of a story as a suspended suspension.
Yeah.
That's never happened before, right?
Well, this is it. And I think, you know, going back to the Club World Cup, what did we see in that World Cup? We saw FIFA somehow finding a way to have Lionel Messi's Inter Miami play in that tournament, despite them not qualifying for it.
Yeah.
And that was so that Messi could be on the pitch, so that more fans would come into the stadium, so that more eyeballs would be on TV screens and therefore on the advertisers. And look, I think generally we all thought, oh, okay, it doesn't really matter. It's the Club World Cup. Now this matters. This is the World Cup. This is the jewel in their crown. And they are just very blatantly letting one of the biggest names play in every game because he is one of the biggest names.
Yeah.
And at that point, you've got to ask questions about the integrity of the competition, don't you?
100%. And there's just so many layers to this.
It just feels like FIFA just doing whatever they want to do because they're FIFA and they can get away with it, because we are fans and we are going to watch this regardless.
I think
they know they can get away with it.
I think it's scary how they're kind of aware of that too, that they know they can just do something and they can somehow justify it, and we're going to forget about it, because as soon as, and we've said this with other World Cup, as soon as that first ball gets kicked, we don't care about the off-field issues because we want our country to win the World Cup. So the underlying thing around all of this conversation is keep talking about the things that bother you around this World Cup, the things that need to change. You can still watch the World Cup. Maybe you want to boycott it. I don't know, we all have our own kind of standing with that kind of thing, but as soon as a ball gets kicked at a World Cup, don't stop talking about the things that you think need to change. Yeah,
that's a great point, Joe. And I think we do want to look at this from a Christian perspective as well. Again, it's always difficult, isn't it? When you frantically Googling what does the Bible say about, corruption when it comes to the World Cup. And again, this is hard. But the Bible does speak a lot about acting against unjust authorities, but it speaks of it in quite a subversive way. Ultimately, there are verses in Acts that talk about obeying God rather than obeying human beings, and that's very important. For balance, Jesus spoke about giving to Caesar what's Caesar's and giving to God what's God's. Now, that was in the context of tax, but I think clearly the spirit of what Jesus is trying to say there is, look, if the people in authority are demanding something of you, you give that to them. But God is, give to God what is rightfully His as well. But ultimately, when the rubber meets the road, you have to obey God over human beings. You look at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and them going against their rulers to do what God told them was right. And I think that ultimately, if you feel that this World Cup is problematic enough to you and you have prayerfully considered that you need to have some kind of stance or some kind of action, then you have to go with what God's put on your heart, don't you?
Yeah, and I think that's a great encouragement to us. There might be one particular area of this that you feel passionate about. For me, I think it is that travel thing. It's that environmental thing. Have a conversation with God. Pray about it. What can I do here that is going to make a difference? Maybe it might not make a huge global scale difference. Maybe it will. But if you make that decision with your conscience that God has given you, then I think that's a really good starting point.
Well, that's right. All we can do is just be obedient to what God's calling us to do. Okay, Joe, it's time for Bible Ballers. Have you had any thought on this one?
Absolutely no idea.
You're struggling. Okay.
Genuinely no idea.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I'll give you a clue. I'll give you an additional clue for this one.
Yeah.
So I'll read the question out again. Which Bible baller scored Republic of Ireland's first goal at the 2002 World Cup in Japan and Korea, missed a penalty in the knockout game to Spain, and was an ever-present in midfield, picking up 49 caps for the boys in green? Your additional clue is this guy was a Premier League stalwart as well. Getting over 200 appearances for Charlton Athletic.
Ooh.
And over 300 appearances for Ipswich. So, like, when you think of this player, you think of Charlton and Ipswich, I think.
Ooh. Midfielder. I mean, I have no idea if this guy is from the Republic of Ireland, and I do apologise in advance if he's not. But when you said Charlton, my mind went to Matt Holland.
Interesting.
So that's all I have to go off, so I will go with Matt Holland, please.
You've locked in Matt Holland.
I have, yes.
It's correct.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh.
Well done. Matt Holland. Excellent stuff.
I mean, without that clue, I would have no idea.
Look,
so
that
I feel a little bit cheated. I feel like I've cheated slightly.
No, listen, you've done very well there. Matt Holland, that's really great. Good knowledge. Good
Thank you.
Charlton Athletic knowledge.
It's come in handy finally.
Superb. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, sort of they had a lot of big stars in that team, Republic of Ireland. Robbie Keane doing very well. Some incredible late scenes in that game against Spain, but sadly they lost on penalties. And a notable player in the middle, Matt Holland. Well done, mate.
Thank you, and maybe we'll see a bit more of Republic of Ireland in next year's World Cup.
Maybe.
Well, thank you for listening to The Big Man Up Top. If you want to get in touch with the show, please ping us an email to podcast@ucb.co.uk. Please follow, subscribe, and give us some good reviews if you so desire, because this will help us get the word out. And if you've enjoyed this, please tell your mates. Keep an eye out for our special episode on Friday, Ed.
Yes, we're going to be chatting all about the on-field action at the next World Cup.
We are, and I'm excited to see if Tom can replicate these flags. If he can get them in the same positions as he did this week. Yeah, but yeah, we'll see you on Friday.
See you there.